Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video, all in crypto here. And today we are going to be talking about Polkadot. And this is going to be quite a technical video. We're really going to be exploring, once again, the genius of Polkadot. And it really amazes me how Gavin Wood had the foresight when coming up with the concepts for Polkadot to be able to kind of work out the direction the space, the crypto space as a whole, was going to head in, with this idea of essentially not just a layer one doing everything, but a layer one playing perhaps, or a layer zero in Polkadot's case, perhaps playing more of a security role that you could build an entire space on top of. You could build multiple chains on top of and guarantee security and ultimately solve problems like scalability, interoperability, privacy, whatever it may be, on top of that underlying perhaps security chain. In Polkadot's case, the relay chain. Ethereum is now moving towards this kind of a model. Cardano is also adopting a similar approach. And actually, the vast majority of the cryptocurrency space are moving towards, or the vast majority of the layer ones out there and crypto projects are moving towards this kind of idea of parallel system sharding kind of approach. So we're going to really be exploring that in this video. It is going to be quite a technical one. I feel like Polkadot needs more explaining than many of the other layer ones out there. Although most, like I say, layer ones are moving towards a Polkadot-esque model. But it is absolutely amazing that Gavin Wood had the foresight when developing Polkadot and sort of proposing it to see the direction the space was going to move in. And this is why we think Polkadot is just simply genius. This is something that's always appealed to me. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at a crypto weekly Twitter space that was held by Mario Norful. I think I'm probably saying that wrong. And the title of this Twitter space was Building the Future of Blockchain with Polkadot. Now, we know Mario won an OpenGov proposal, as we did. And ultimately, you know, we're going to be hearing from the likes of Bill LeBoon, who is probably one of the most wholesome people in the entire crypto space, Filippo from the Web3 Foundation, really explaining Polkadot in perhaps a better way than I can. And we're going to talk about this concept of sharding. We're going to talk about the concepts of Polkadot and why it is absolutely a winning formula. So the first thing for me to do is play the first clip, or the first section of this Twitter space, where Bill introduces Polkadot. We'll talk about sharding, we'll talk about Polkadot's approach, why it's simply genius. Then we'll move over to what Filippo has to say in regards to the benefits of this, how you can order transactions and you can ensure the correct usage of block space. And then we'll finish things off with a clip, a section of Bill kind of expanding on this kind of concept a little bit more, and then we'll wrap the video up. So without further ado, guys, let's dive into clip number one.
Sure, I guess, excuse me, I guess I'll start. Yeah, so Polkadot, we call it a heterogeneous sharded blockchain, but in layman's terms, this is just an actually sharded blockchain where you have lots of different blockchains that people can develop, and then they are secured by the Polkadot relay chain. So we do have the Polkadot SDK, the software development kit, that is used not just for these teams that are building directly on Polkadot, but lots of other teams like of the Avail network, Midnight on Cardano. A lot of other teams use this blockchain development framework. And so the basic idea of Polkadot is that anyone can go and build their own blockchain and get all of the security that you would have of building on Polkadot. It gets shared with anyone. So we also are very interested in decentralization. So one of my role, Director of Education and Governance Initiatives, I'm really focused on ensuring that we have a truly decentralized community and blockchain that's actually governed by the DOT holders and not by some hidden multi-sig or the developers or anyone else, but only the people that hold DOT. That's my 2-minute intro.
Let's explore what Bill LeBoon is talking about on the Twitter space a little bit more in regards to this idea of sharding, this idea of multiple blockchains. Again, this is the direction the vast majority of layer ones are moving towards, because it's kind of impossible to solve everything in one chain, one kind of linear chain, and Polkadot really looked to kind of develop this model of, okay, well, let's focus on security. And once we've got that kind of building block, we can build on top of it. And let's dive over to the Polkadot website to explore this in a little bit more detail. This is the kind of parachain model. Now we are moving away from parachains. Parachains just mean parallel transactions processing. And it's this concept of doing multiple things, processing multiple blockchains at the same time and offering the kind of $1 billion worth of security that Polkadot has, the tens of billions of dollars that Polkadot security has, and offering a kind of guarantee with that, but then tailoring the layer ones that are built on top of Polkadot to specific use cases. And you can see this is the current method with single transactions. Most of your layer ones follow this. And then you've got Polkadot's method, which is a multi-parallelized transaction system. And you can see you do multiple things. You have the underlying relay chain, and then you build on top of it. And it confuses people, this kind of parachain model, the relay chain model, but it's actually far more simple when you kind of break it down than I think most people think, because it's ultimately this concept of having the layer zero and everything else is secured by it, and you can build on top of it with the likes of Polkadot's SDK, which, as Bill says, the likes of Cardano are now using to actually build Midnight. Many other chains are also adopting it as well, even on the likes of the Cosmos space. And the problem with parachains at the moment is you have to win a slot auction. We're doing away with that, and we're now saying, look, anybody and everyone can now build on Polkadot. All you've got to do is buy the time on the chain. You've got to basically be able to rent out a core. Right now, there's 52, I believe, cores that are currently called parachains. They'll essentially be broken up. So people can still maintain a whole core. We are going to move to a world where actually there's going to be 500 to 1,000 cores. And if you think about a computer, the more cores you have, the more you're capable of doing. Similar kind of concept with Polkadot. And if we look at some kind of schematics of sharding, you can see this is one that we have here for you. Looking at this idea in a little bit of a different way, you can see you've got what would be described as the kind of Polkadot relay chain in the center here, and then you've got all these other chains kind of built on top of it, and utilizing and kind of getting security guarantees as a result of it, but focusing on their own specific use cases. You can see if we refer to like Ethereum's roadmap a little bit, you've got the beacon chain in this case, then you've got a sharded chain and another sharded chain that ultimately all kind of leverage the underlying chain. And you can kind of scale these up infinitely. And with doing that, every time you do that, you increase the entire network's capability to scale, to be useful, so on and so forth. It really is this kind of genius model. Let's now dive over to the next little bit I want to play you from the Twitter talk, and that is Filippo talking about the kind of benefits of this all.
Hi, thank you very much for inviting me at this space. I'm Filippo, and I'm a technical educator at the Web3 Foundation, which is behind the Polkadot network. It's just adding on top of what Bill said. I think that the way Polkadot is designed is to promote, to make sure that people they build chain that has specific use cases, and they concentrate on the use case without reinventing the wheel. So you have this like SDK that allows you to deploy, to build your own chain with different modules. You want to have to transfer between funds and between accounts, you can add this. Yeah. So you have this SDK that allows you to concentrate on the use case, and also the way that Polkadot is built is very efficient. We've seen also last year in December there was kind of a craziness about inscription on Polkadot, and just to quote some numbers, there were like more than 13 million transactions in 2 days, and the chain reached 220 transactions per second, and the block space, the blocks were filled around 3-4% on average during those days. So it's a very, very efficient chain that allows really to withstand large pressure in transactions. And this is actually also one of the use case of this network, is that since it's a sharded network that has a lot of layer ones that they depend, and they basically they access what Polkadot provides which this share security and interoperability, where chain can communicate between each other. It must be very efficient at the layer 0 level. So it must it must use block space in a very efficient way, and there must not be the situation where, I don't know, like NFTs, like kitties, they occupy the blocks that must be used to secure, like all these layer ones that actually have, they are basically businesses that are enterprise grade chains.
So I thought Filippo brought up an amazing point there, and again differentiated Polkadot from the kind of pack. With a lot of layer ones, everyone's competing. So whether that be crypto kitties, Bored Apes, NFTs, which you could argue perhaps aren't as important as perhaps an enterprise use case. If somebody wants to build a real world application on some of these layer ones, they have to compete with NFTs and ordinals or whatever it may be. Whereas Polkadot actually structures this and orders, I guess, transactions based on importance. Now that is a real unique feature. Again, another kind of example of Polkadot's model being a superior one. Let's now finish things off on Bill talking about this once again, kind of expanding on it a little bit, and then we're going to wrap the video up. The whole purpose of this video is to kind of show you guys technically that, in my opinion, Polkadot and Gavin Wood in designing Polkadot was exceptionally right. And it offers, and it is actually, I think, a superior system to many of the other kind of blockchain projects out there.
So I think the idea of an L1 is that's something that end users are going to want to interact with, right? And so when you have an L2 on top of that, generally Ethereum L2s, that's something else that users can also interact with, right? They can go onto the Ethereum mainnet and do things that may be more expensive, but you still can do things. And then you have these L2s also on top of it. The idea of L0, this is not meant to be something that the ordinary end user is going to interact with. It's at a more foundational level. So the idea of what we call the relay chain, the central chain of Polkadot that's supporting the parachains, the L1s, that relay chain, its goal is really just to spend all of its time and all of its focus, not to anthropomorphize too much, on supporting these other L1s. And this actually provides a lot of efficiency, right? That you're not clogging up the L1 with other things. It can be focused just on providing a really secure and scalable mechanism for these other chains. So I would say in terms of the trilemma, like definitely security and scalability are helped by this heterogeneous sharding. Decentralization, not always necessarily, but definitely with the way Polkadot's doing it. We are certainly focusing on ensuring that the governance of this chain and the ownership of the chain and the running of the chain is decentralized. Having a very high Nakamoto coefficient is very important to us. Ensuring that we have participation in governance is very important, but I wouldn't say that's like directly part of what sharding helps to achieve.
We'll go ahead and leave that there. And rather interesting video. I know probably quite a few people actually missed that Twitter space, or perhaps on Twitter, so I wanted to kind of bring some of the key points over to YouTube. Honestly, this kind of reiterates a lot of what we've been speaking about in regards to Polkadot, and again, the foresight that it was built with. Because hindsight is always 20/20, but if you look at the approach that Polkadot has taken and took, and how it's now evolving more so to kind of fit and benefit from that, I really do believe it was the right one, and I think we get a lot of confirmation from that, looking at other blockchain projects out there, DAG projects out there, not necessarily DAGs actually, because they do the whole blockchain thing in a totally different way. It's kind of like a bunch of blocks, not a linear kind of plodding along of blocks. But I really do think that Polkadot has a winning formula. I think they're the furthest ahead on this multi-chain model. And that's only going to intensify. We've got 52 parachains, i.e. cores at the moment. We are going to be moving to 500 to 1,000. Could you imagine? And we are seeing some real world use cases actually being built on Polkadot, whether that's what Astar are doing with the likes of Sony, Toyota, so on and so forth, whether that's what Kilt are doing with Deloitte, whether that's what Peak are doing with Bosch, whatever it may be. You know, it's a very exciting future, I think, that Polkadot has ahead of it. And we wanted to share that with you on this video. That's all I've got for you, ladies and gentlemen. If you've enjoyed the content, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching.